Donald Trump is doing what he promised, trying to end the war in Ukraine. Last week, he took the first step. Trump spoke to Russian President Vladimir Putin. The phone call happened on Thursday. But unlike other conversations, this one was not revealed. Maybe because of the content. Trump reportedly made 4 points in this conversation. He urged Putin to not escalate the war. He reminded him of America's military deployments in Europe, sort of like a warning. He called for further talks to end the conflict, and finally he touched upon the issue of land, perhaps the possibility of Ukraine giving up land in exchange for peace. And what about the other side? Well, Russia says the call never happened. They're calling it pure fiction. But they have admitted that Trump's win is a positive development. President Putin also praised him last week. He called Trump a manly leader. That's the word he used. It's the sort of thing that Donald Trump loves to hear. But will these calls and praises translate into a ceasefire in Ukraine? Well, that depends on many variables, mainly 3. Number 1, what is Trump's plan? 3 of his staffers have revealed some details. Apparently, Donald Trump wants to freeze the current front line. He then wants to create a 1,200-kilometer buffer zone. Trump wants European soldiers to man it, maybe the Germans or the French or the British, definitely not American. And why would Russia agree to it? Because Ukraine will then abandon its NATO ambitions. And why would Kiev agree to it? Because the US would then flood Ukraine with weapons, sort of like a deterrent to another Russian attack. Now, this plan raises a lot of questions, like, will Europeans enforce a buffer zone? Will Ukraine give up territory? And will Russia agree to the rearming of Ukraine? Frankly, this looks like a long-shot plan. Nonetheless, it is a start. It is certainly better than pouring billions into an endless war. Which brings us to variable number 2. What can Biden do in the next 70 days that he's still in office? Well, he'll be meeting Donald Trump on Wednesday. Reports say the president will try to lobby his successor, basically try to change his mind on Ukraine. Again, that's a long shot. Trump is keeping pro-Ukraine leaders out of his team, like Nikki Haley and Mike Pompeo. His son also posted this message to Ukraine's president, and I'm quoting, "You're 38 days from losing your allowance. So good luck changing Trump's mind." Biden's other option lies in the US Congress. He can ask them to pass another package for Ukraine. Again, a tough choice. The new Congress will take charge in January. Most likely, it will be Republican-controlled. So Biden's window is shrinking. He could also choose some nuclear options, maybe transfer frozen Russian state assets to Ukraine, that's worth around $5 billion, or maybe remove his red lines on the battlefield. Biden has stopped Zelensky from using American weapons to strike inside Russia. He could lift that red line in his final weeks in office. Next is variable number 3. What can Ukraine's European allies do? The EU's top diplomat visited Kiev over the weekend. He promised unwavering support.
The clear purpose of this visit is to stress the European Union support to Ukraine. This support remains unwavering. This support is absolutely needed for you to continue defending yourself against Russian aggression.
The UK is also putting on a brave face. Their Prime Minister Keir Starmer is travelling to France. He will attend the French Armistice Day services. Now, it's a big day for Western solidarity. It marks the end of the First World War, the victory of the Allies over Germany. Now, normally, British Prime Ministers spend the day at home. But Keir Starmer is in France. He's the first British leader to attend the French Armistice Day since the Second World War. So quite a statement by Starmer. The pictures and statements are fine, but the math doesn't add up. The EU has given $131 billion to Ukraine. $131 billion, that's 27 countries put together. The US alone has given $174 billion. $174 billion. So Europe needs to find a lot of money, and they need to find it fast. Where does that leave Ukraine and Zelensky? in a very precarious situation. They're trading heavy blows with Russia. Moscow, in fact, launched around 145 drones at Ukraine. They killed 5 people and injured many more in the country's south. Kiev says these were Iran-made drones. Around 62 of these drones were shot down. The rest presumably hit. Ukraine also fired a massive barrage at Russia. Around 84 drones were fired at different regions of Russia. Even the capital Moscow was targeted. And casualties? Just a few injuries in the Moscow region. Plus, flights had to be diverted from 3 airports. Now, this was the biggest drone fight in the war. But why now? Maybe Ukraine wants to show Trump what they're capable of, that they can still win this war. But the advantage lies with Russia, very clearly. October was a very good month for them. Reports say the best since 2022. They advanced almost 500 square kilometers into Ukrainian land. Plus, North Korean troops are on standby. They will enter the war in Russia's Kursk region. So all in all, it's looking very bad for Zelensky at the moment. Biden used to give him a blank check. Yes, there were some red lines, but Zelensky could plan the war as he wanted, pretty much. All that is about to change. He will soon face a very difficult question. Does he take Trump's deal, or does he fall back on European support to keep fighting? If he takes the deal, he loses land. If he doesn't, he could lose on the battlefield. Either way, the winner is Vladimir Putin. When he attacked Ukraine in 2022, Putin bet that Western solidarity would crumble. Almost 1,000 days later, it is happening.